Um, Hello. I don't, I don't fully get what I want to do here. What I'm going through is for you. Well, I say you. I mean me. No one's gonna. Well, I know what I know what I mean. I already do. I don't need to stop. Well, actually, maybe one day I'll have kids and want them to. I mean, yeah, better than trying to remember trying to remember it all. Then it's probably better to get it while it's still fresh. So, introduction. I'm the front office secretary in an office building. We have. This is fucking stupid. I'm not gonna forget any of it. What? Hello again. It's me. I'm back. I'm the front office desk secretary in an office building. We've got a few different small businesses renting out space in here, but I work for the well, would you be a landlord? Is it still a landlord if it's this is fucking stupid. I'm not doing anymore. I'm back again. Sorry, but it's not like I have anything better to do. Worst case, I can just delete this shit. So, yeah, three businesses renting space. I work for the let's call her a landlord. Top floor and half the second top floor are empty right now. I don't pay a ton of attention to the companies that rent space. Second floor is on by it's an accounting agency or something with numbers. Might be programming actually. I think one of the other two's a recent group of law school graduates that are trying to start up something. The rent here is not too expensive. We're not really in the CBD at the moment, so location isn't optimal. Building's old too. We've got some greystone gargoyles on the outside of the building too, on the little rims on the outside. I mean, that's not unusual for this district of the city. It is, but not that bit. That bit's normal. It's we'll get to it later, though. It sounds like he's up again. No rest for the weary. Oh no, that's wicked, isn't it? I'm not wicked. Hey, it's tomorrow. It's the next day now, or next night, I guess. It's what 11:30 now. It's close today. If day starts at 12 a.m. and not when sun's up. I don't know. Sun's not up here. I mean, it's up somewhere. Anyway, was thinking about this whole recording thing all of today, so I actually started writing some notes on things I want to talk about. So um, I can't actually read it, but I remember that the first is Carl. Carl's actually right over there. Come over here, Carl. Say a few words. No, no, it's no. That's alright. That's fun. Carl's shy a bit. Great talking to when there's not a tape recorder on though. Uh, hmm. Tape recorder. How'd this get in my desk? Actually, I've got a camera. It's it's only like 720p and it wouldn't pick up anything anyway. But the audio would be fine. Well, whatever. I've already started doing these now. I'm not going again. Carl helps out around here a lot, especially to me. I mean, probably just as much to everyone else too, but other than Connor and Mrs. Canine, I don't really talk to anyone around here. I just make sure that people pay and are supposed to be here and stuff like that. That's why I've got nothing better to do after everyone's left than record this. I mean, I did have better things to do, but I ran out. Carl's kind of an advisor for me. Keeps me real, keeps me from making bad mistakes, that kind of thing. He's worked there for hell, I don't even know how long. I'm taking too long. I can introduce you to the rest as they come up. I would like to start from the start, but honestly, I have no clue when the start even was. I haven't got the best memory. Which, I mean, half the reason I've started this. You'd think that the first experience would have stuck with me, but no. I'll start from the earliest I can think of right now. So, Mrs. Canine, she's the landlord, or landlady, I suppose is the term that people use. Well, one day, after everyone from the businesses left like normal, she didn't. I only noticed 3 hours or so later, and then only because Carl told me to go check out why her light was still on. Well, I mean, he told me that right after everyone had gone, actually, but lazy, At night, once everyone's gone, everything's in pitch darkness. The first floor isn't rented out, so behind the wall that's behind my desk, she has pretty much the entire floor to herself. The only other thing on the first floor is one unisex bathroom. It's a big office for her. So I'm in complete darkness as normal, except from the light coming from behind that wall. And eventually I go to check it out. Carl hangs back. He doesn't really help with the physical, like the movement stuff, just the advice. He just nodded. You can't see. He's like nodding like hard right now. I like that, Carl. That's funny. So I go into her office, which again, like massive, and the lights are on bright. I could feel the heat on my skin, and I could barely see because of how bright it was shining. And there she is, sitting cross-legged in the middle of the room. Her head's looking down into her lap, and her eyes are closed. Shoulders are slowly rising and falling with her breath. There's a ring of candles around her. The wicks on all of the candles were lit, but they were casting shadow instead. Each candle had a kind of circle on the ground around it, where a candle would normally be providing some dim light, but instead it was shadow, not darkness, not pitch, but shadow. The flickering orange fire on the wicks was unchanged, just as visible through the shadow as normal fire is. The ring of shadows that they formed were, if you've ever been on a field hockey court at night, or a tennis court actually at night, and the big lights are on, but because there's no sunlight and no walls for the light to bounce off of, your shadow's a bit darker than normal. It was like that. Everything inside was under a dark shade, but I could still see it. So from the doorway, I just stood and watched for a while. I didn't know what I was supposed to do. Like, what are you supposed to do here? And as I watched, I saw something else. From her scalp, right where her hair threaded its way through her skin, some sort of liquid was dripping down into her lap. I can't remember too many details because this was ages ago, 8 or 9 days. The droplets were rolling down from her scalp over her closed eyes, and they ended up dripping off of her nose before it just landed into her lap. Again, I don't remember very well, but if I had to guess what it was, just based off of the knowledge that it was something dripping, I'd say either regular blood, sweat, ichor, if my theories are to be believed, spit, black nectar, or tears. Doesn't really matter what it was, though, unless it's black nectar, but I mean, if it was that long ago, then I guess we'll find out in 2 or 3 days, maybe 4. No, it would be 6 or 7. It's 6 or 7 more from now. Hopefully it was Ica. Well, I stood and watched for a bit longer after that before I decided what to do. I slowly crept towards her and stepped into the little circle. There wasn't enough space for me to sit as well, so I asked her to scooch, and that got her eyes open. She hissed and spit at my shin, got a good chunk out too before I stepped back and out of the circle. Her eyes were black now, by the way, like not a full black. I know you always hear about that in possessions, but it didn't happen this time. Just the corneas of her eyes were black. The coloured bits, like the part where my eyes are green around the black, the pupil around the pupil, that was black now. The eye whites were still white. Can't have been a pure black either, because I could tell her apart from the pupil. This close, I could see her scalp a little bit better, but she was still in shadow, and the rest of the room lit up like a flare. It looked like somebody had taken a knife and cut a huge gash across there, tracing her hairline. I'm trying to remember now what the liquid was. I've just spooked myself, but it was too long ago. I'm not going to remember. Her teeth were a light, dull blue with flecks of my blood and nerves in them. Her skin was reddish, more brown than red, but the red's still there. I think the wood on my desk's that color, but I can't tell right now. Again, pitch black here. By now she's hissed at me and bitten me. I don't even care what a little ritual is anymore. I've been put right off participating. So I'm out of the circle, mad steaming, and I kick over one of the candles. The floor's carpet too, so I totally could have burned the place down, but I super didn't. Candle falls and the wick goes out, so one of the shadowy spheres disappears and a bit of one of her knees is now in the unnaturally bright lights from the room's bulbs. Her skin starts to sizzle, and that little section of red skin in the light shifts back to her normal skin color. I don't know colors, like creamy or yellowy or browny, something. Both of her hands grab at her knee and she just screeches. Louder than anything, as high-pitched as it could have been for me to still hear it. I've heard plenty from all sorts, but this was just... Well, this time I was close, so that might be it, but it was really bad. I feel a little bad here. I burned her leg over something just because she didn't let me join in what may very well have been a solo ritual. I know a couple of those, so I try to help her by running over to the switch to turn off the lights, since that's what burned her. I know you're going to hate me for that, but really, it made sense to me at the time. The lights go off and suddenly the candles still around her let out a broken circle of light, just like normal candles would. If the screech before was bad, and it was, this was just awful, horrible. She lets out this howl, and the sizzling picks up to levels that would be deafening if her screaming wasn't already upstaging it. I couldn't see much of what happened next. Candlelight's hardly a market leader, but I saw enough to know that with the sizzling there was also bubbling and popping. She starts crawling around on her hands and knees in agonized, slow movements, using her fingers to pinch out each individual candle wick as her screeching died down to a soft sobbing. She got through 4 before the pain and light from the last 3 was enough to make her collapse to the ground. I turned the lights back on, trying to help, and the screaming picked back up as the 3 remaining orbs of shadows barely covered her from the glaring lights from the bulb, so I turned it back off again. I walk up to her and she's just quietly weeping. She was mostly back to normal. Her teeth were still blue and her black, not black eyes were still there, and there were a few small patches of reddy brown skin, but mostly normal. I didn't know what else to do, so I put out the last 3 candles that were burning her, and I just left her in the dark and walked back to my desk. Next morning, at around 6, Carl tells me to check on her, and she's still lying there in the same position, fully turned back now, though. Our eyes were back to their normal color, the whole deal. Miss Kinane took the rest of that day off, which she never does. I never found out what spirit was trying it, but my money's on the little boy from a while back. Hang on. Sorry. Carl's motioning for... He's beckoning me, I guess. Looks semi-important. I mean, important enough for me to get out of my chair. Allegedly. I don't have anything to do until I think of some more stories, anyway, since I can't read the paper. So, I'll come back with something else and an update on my desk color when I can see again. I keep saying you. I need to stop.